food in the different assets that they have.
We haven't steered us in the right direction to making food that everybody can accomplish really simply, easily, and healthy. So, to that end, we're going to do a little pork tenderloin with sort of some spicy tomatoes. Not spicy heat, but more spicy, full nuanced flavors. So it's got some cumin and mustard seed in it, and then some little jalapeno. There's some vinegar to offset a little bit of brown sugar in it, but everything in moderation, everything balanced well. It's all using olive oil, which I'm going to heat up in this, and then I'm going to add some shallot. Shallot are one thing at the grocery stores that I think that we need to push better as being great options. Shallots and leeks are just members of the allium family that I think kind of get looked over because of the price disparity between great onions and more expensive leeks and shallots and things like that in the allium family. But we use them a lot in our cooking just because they provide really natural sweetness in them. To me, what you're trying to do when you're trying to coax flavor out of things is trying to get natural sweetness inherent to things to come out. So we do that through various things, through the application of salt, through cooking them and caramelization, just for trying to nuance flavor out of things in a really simple way. Okay, so the onions are in there, or the shallots are in there, and I've got some cherry tomatoes. What this is it's very borrowing from Indian cooking. So we're going to cook these shallots down. We're going to add some spices to them and the chilies and cook that down a little bit. While it's still hot, we're going to add vinegar and some citrus juice, and then we're going to pour back over the tomatoes and let those marinate for a little while. Then we're going to add some beautiful California avocado to that, and then garnish some pork tenderloin that we're going to get started. You know, people have some weird assumptions about things as simple as cooking pork tenderloin. You know, I think the USDA just came down to 142 as sort of the area that we're wanting to cook pork to make it safe. There's a lot of great natural pork products in the marketplace today that are really good in trying to be what we're kind of focusing on in the restaurant world as being better sourcing and sort of more ethical sourcing for the future. But I'm going to get that started and just cook that in a pan over here. I've got this going right now. It's fun, we did the PMA show for California Avocado, and we did the same recipe, so it was a lot of fun. But it was funny because it was like hordes and hordes of people. I have you as a captive audience, so I can say whatever you want. These people were just streaming by you, trying to get tastes. I was like, nope, okay. Okay, so that's on there. My spices are about to go in, and then I'm gonna season my tomatoes. When we're talking about seasoning tomatoes, you know how you add salt is not a spice. Salt's a flavor enhancer. It pulls out liquid on our palate. It pulls out liquids and sugars in food. It makes flavor rise to the top. It's a flavor enhancer. It maximizes things. So that's what we're looking to do with bringing out the natural sugars inherent in the tomatoes. Sugars are going to come out better when they're at room temperature, so I try and keep my tomatoes generally at home at room temperature. On the supermarket shelf, we understand they have to be refrigerated in the back and they come out, and then they're at room temperature, and that's good. So we're going to season those right here just a little bit. You know, in everything in moderation. It's like palates are all different. My wife likes lots of salt. I don't like much salt. Okay, we're going to add this is some ground up mustard seed and some cumin. Big fan of cumin. I think it works really well with avocados. You know, the thing about avocados is they're so easy to add to something, to add richness and nuance and nice amount of fun to a dish that otherwise could be boring. My kids eat eat really, really healthy food for the most part. They're the kids who probably get beat up at school because they take their own salads and then take a little homemade dressing, and we acidulate avocado and put it on the salad, and then but their snack at home is often things like half an avocado with lime juice, and we have like 8 salts, and they're like, ooh, can you add 8 salts? So they're not snooty. They still Jones for Chick-fil-A as well. But what I'm saying is that it's really important to get kids excited and to get America excited about food at all points in their lives. But if we can do it when they're young, then they have food knowledge going through the whole thing. And then they're better eaters. And that's the key, and that's where you guys come into play. So that's what you have to do. I've given you a job quest. Okay. We are adding, let's see, the onions, and you smell this sort of nuance of cooking spice and the onions. To me, that evokes very much the taste and olfactory sensations of cooking in India. This is that cooking and spice, that creation of flavor that's going to add so much to the tomato as we go. But it doesn't take long. It makes your kitchen smell great. And these are the types of things that, when we're fighting against years of convenience, these are the smells that I want emanating from everybody's houses, because it shows that you have an understanding of food. And that understanding is so difficult to convey sometimes to all of America, that cooking is so much fun. We can bring it back down to earth and make it homey and cook with each other and, you know, have my kids running around and stuff like that. Okay, back to the recipe. Mustard seed, I'm gonna add some lemon juice, or some lime juice, right here. And kind of do that off the heat, because it's gonna, that. And then I'm gonna add my chilies. Chilies, you can add whatever you want. It doesn't have to be really, really spicy chilies. I'm gonna add a little bit of brown sugar. And then I've got some chopped parsley here. And we're gonna add that. We're gonna re-season this just a little bit right here. And stir that up all around. And then we're gonna add these to our tomatoes. Okay, so that goes on. And that's just gonna sit. We're gonna finish with the avocado later. If you're pre-cutting avocado, it's really easy just to situate it. You can situate it with white vinegar or citrus juice like lemon or lime, or orange. If you don't want that really powerful citric acid taste of a lemon or a lime, you can use orange. Or you can use ascorbic acid in powder form or citric acid in powder form and dilute it or sprinkle it over the top, and that'll work too. They're relatively stable flavors and non-intrusive. Okay, off to the side. Hopefully we don't crack the marble top table. Okay, the pan's warm. When we talk about cooking in a pan, when you're talking about metal, everybody wants to use non-stick pans. I'm not a big fan of non-stick pans. I'm a big fan of cast iron. I'm a big fan of enameled cast iron, and a big fan of stainless steel. What happens with metal, though, is it's pretty much a loose alloy when it's cold, and that protein sinks into it. And then when it heats up, it tightens up and closes in, and that's what's happening when you're putting your $19 piece of red snacker in there that you bought at their luxurious supermarket, and it's sticking to the pan. So heat up your pan beforehand, you'll have less problems with things sticking to pans. Making sense? All right. Okay, we are gonna add a little bit of oil to the pan. We're gonna season our pork tenderloin. And I've got a separate board I'm going to use here. I'm going to cut these just in one slice, just a little bit smaller. Now the sinew's been removed from all of these from the exterior, and so all the silver skin. And then we're going to season those just lightly with salt, and then we're going to add those to the pan.
What kind of salt are you using?
I use kosher salt, and I'll tell you, I don't mind iodized salt on the table. But when I'm cooking, I like the feel of kosher salt because I can feel it in my hand. For other seasoning, I think there's a big movement in popularity of really high-end salts in the marketplace right now, which are really good and popular, and you can use all those. But, you know, it's up to whatever you want to use. There's enough iodine in our water. My personal view. Okay, I'm going to add some more herbs. Fresh herbs are really important to my food and should be, I think, sort of sold at a grocery store in a better fashion. So I'm not a big fan of the clamshells, but there's a way to sell them, to focus in on them. But one of the things I use in a lot of savory food is mint. And I think tomatoes have a really good affinity with mint. So I'm going to chop up a bunch of mint and add it to that. Just a different knife. So these are cooking. One of the things we don't need to do is move the pan a lot. Just leave it alone, they'll be fine. And then once I turn these, I'm going to just gently lower the heat and cook them for a while, because usually they go in the oven, but in this instance we're going to cook them all on the stove top. And that just requires lowering the heat. Okay, so my mint is going to go in. Now these tomatoes, you could do something like this, even as long as a week ahead of time, and have them marinating and really gathering a lot more flavor in the fridge. So don't be afraid to make things ahead of time, and then we can cut the beautiful avocado in later on. So everybody's like, well, how do I cut an avocado? It's actually really easy. So if we take the avocado, I take this, the little, where it was attached, and remove that. Then I just cut around really carefully. Now, you're less likely to cut yourself with a sharp knife than a dull knife. Okay, now it's like that. And then we can just take the base of it, and we can peel back all of that like that. And the key to this is that this is where the closer, the darker area right here, that's where all the carotenoids are. That's what's really going to be the beneficial health attributes are mostly in that area. So then we can take that and you can cut it down. Then you don't have to do that sort of death-defying, taking the knife and slamming it into the pit. Leave that to us. We have insurance. So I'm going to turn these now, and I've got a nice amount of sort of brown caramelization. Everybody's like, you're sealing in the moisture. No, you're not. If moisture can still leach out after you sear meat. That's kind of an old wives' tale. But what it is doing is it's giving it flavor. And that's that caramelization, that browning that's occurring on the exterior of the meat. So at this point in time, I'm just going to lower the heat down and just let it mellow out for a little bit. I'm going to like 140. At home, I probably go a little bit lower because I like it, because I know where my pork comes from. I know who I'm buying it from, so I develop that relationship. And that's key in all these things. Okay, I'm going to take the avocado and just take it off of the pit, and then we're going to slice it up and add it to our tomatoes. And I like to see the avocado in big, beautiful, long slices. You know, we make a lot of quinoa at home because it's a great, really nutritious, full grain. And we take it off and we mix it with just little cubed feta and a simple vinaigrette and a ton of avocado and sliced tomatoes. Those type of salads are really, really straightforward. They're also things that my kids will eat, so it's like, great. We have a new rule at my house. If you don't like dinner, you have to get up and make it. My kids are 7. My kids are 7 and 9, so it's a little crazy, but it works. It's only really happened once that they refused to eat what we ate, and I was like, okay, get up, you have to make dinner. You have to make it in front of Mom and I, and we'll watch you do it. And they do. So, but that was once. The pressure and the laziness inherent in my children will usually make them actually eat the food on hand, so that's good. The other thing we do to make kids eat really well is I do a lot of, when other kids are visiting, we'll all sit around the table and eat family style. So there are platters of food in front of them. And I think kids are really good with eating everything on their plate when you don't put it on and say, this is the boundary of your plate and you have to eat all of it. If it's food that they get to build their own plate with, and it's not, then they'll try new things. So I find that they go out of their boundaries and try Brussels sprouts and okra and things like that when it's not this thing on their plate that they have to eat. Meanwhile, it's on a platter in the middle, and then a free game to make their own choices. So we're big into empowering them to do the right thing and have their own choices. So I'm just basting over the top with some of the pan juices that are in there. And this is a good trick to just making sure your meats are really succulent from the top and just really nice and really cared for. You know, we want to respect the proteins that we're cooking just because they're expensive, and you know, we just want to make sure they're really good. Oh yeah. Now there's bok choy in this, and bok choy is another thing that I find is just a really healthy green that's inexpensive, can match well with all the avocados and the tomatoes and the pork. So it looks like this. Everything on it's fully edible. We go from the very bottom to the very top, and we just chop it up like this. Now, what we're doing with this is, I'm going to use the residual heat from the pan and lightly cook this at the very end, and use that as kind of a base for the pork and then build the dish around it. What I want to convince people of is food is easier than they think it is. One of the ways we do that is, how many pans do they have to clean? Well, I can do it with pretty much one, because America's scared of cleaning dishes. So we have to make sure that they understand that this is really easy steps to make this whole dish, and they can get through it really easily. It also, from start to finish, if you've done some of the prep work on the tomatoes and the avocado, you're going to be talking about 10 minutes, 20 minutes of real cookery in the kitchen for a great, evenly balanced meal. And that's the key. So, okay, let's get these going. Anybody got any questions?
Do you have a garden? Do you grow your own veggies?
We grow a lot of herbs. I don't have time for vegetable growing. I've got a lot of farm. We live in a very farm-rich environment, so we buy a lot of stuff locally. At the restaurants, we're about 80% local. And you know, so we're really perpetuating this idea. I don't like the term farm to table because I find it's too easily co-optable, but this is, I was raised in Canada cooking, you know, the land came in the back door from a guy named Bain. Bain had a wife whose name was Elaine, she made goat cheese. You know, Elaine's sister made the bread and this guy brought the butter and the, you know, the milk. That was, you know, that was raised in, that was how you got raised in fine kitchens in Canada. So local has always been in our blood on what we do. You know, long before it was cool, it was like, naturally, good food comes from your area. And so that's how we always thought about that. But you know, the world's changed a lot. And it's changed in good ways. You know, we can access great ingredients from around the globe right now. And I'm not averse to that at all. I want to focus in on the best things on the plate and still get our community of food. But our community of food is, right now to me, is the larger America. So if I have the choice, I want to buy things that are domestic and fun and interesting, and I know that people are behind them. It's a relationship. Okay, so I'm just turning these a little bit. These are still a little on the mid-rare side, so I'm just going to turn them and just let them mellow out as I get everything else ready. I'm going to toss these tomatoes with my beautiful avocado. You know, avocados are such a great snack because they're ready. You know, that's the nice thing about them. And you smell that, I smell it, you probably don't from over there. But just the flavors and the freshness of this look really good. A lot of people are averse to onions overall, but if I can caramelize onions and get that natural sugars out of them, my kids will eat them up. I mean, they will eat a ton of them. Like spring vidalia charred on the grill, chopped up, topping, whatever it is, they will eat that really readily. But it's just, it's how we prepare food sometimes, and how we make sure that we're not just doing it. When you come across a big piece of raw onion on a burger, it's loved by about 10% of the population, and not loved by the other 90%. But if you caramelize that, it's going to be loved by the majority, because our palate naturally likes it. Okay. I'm going to turn these just a little bit. And,
How did you get the avocado off the seeds so easily?
you know, when they're perfectly ripe, when we find them and they just begin to feel, and there's just a little nice little give, you're indenting it just slightly, and it's not so rock solid, it pretty much is ready to fall off its pit naturally. So I didn't have to wedge it away at all. If it's underripe, you'll be wrestling it away. But if it's perfectly ripe and you learn that tender little touch and feeling when it's ready, then you'll have no problem with it. I'm just going to let that pork cook just a little bit more. Looking at 8 copies of my recipes. So the season of California avocado is mid-September, mid-April. And you know, when they're ready at the peak of their season, they're just amazingly easy to work with. And that's the key to this, is I want America to realize that convenience should be in the good food. It's not in the food that's already ready to make and drop in a bag in boiling water. To me, that's not convenience. That's a lot of processes that somebody else has gone through to make it convenient for you. I want to prove to people that making good food with pure ingredients is really easy. And that's where the avocado is one of these things that's just like, it's right there. It's ready to go. You don't have to do anything. And you can cook with it. I mean, it's a great natural oil to mash up and use in place of some saturated oils in baking and things like that. So it's got its full panoply of uses. We used to make beautiful pureed, chilled avocado soups, and then garnished with kind of a gazpacho type garnish with local shrimp and things like that at the restaurant. So there's a lot of flexibility in it. One of the things when we're cooking meats is to make sure that you rest the meats after you've cooked them. And one of the ways that we're resting meats is you leave it on a cutting board on our plate. What happens when you're cooking meat is the moisture all runs to the center. And it's like a sponge. It needs to repopulate where it came from with that moisture. But if you cut into it right off the grill or out of a hot pan, all that liquid goes everywhere. And you end up with a very dry, sort of grayish looking mass. And it's not really good. So I think America wants us to teach them how to respect the food that they're cooking more, because they're investing in it more and more every day with more of their paycheck. So how do we do that? Like, how do we make sure that they're not screwing up their food at home? because it should be easy. But you'll dissuade a lot of people if they spend $60 at the grocery store for a dinner for two and they screw it all up. They're going to come to my restaurant instead. I don't mind that. That's okay. But, okay, so these are about to come off, and we're going to then finish up some nice plates with these, but I'm going to let them rest for about 5 minutes. I'm just going to get a nice platter together as I wait on those. And while this is still hot, I'm just going to leave that little bit of jus in there, and I'm just going to wilt this down just a little bit. Again, we're adding salt to this, but not much. I mean, the total count of our salt is minimal, and you know, at a number of demos down in Miami recently, a lot of older people were raising their hands saying, I can't eat that much salt, and that's fine. You can use either a salt replacement, or you can really limit the amount of salt, or you can up the amount of spice and things. You know, we can always season with spice and sort of excite our palate in an umami way with more acids and spice and heat to compensate for lesser amounts of salt. I'm going to add just a little bit of salt in that, and then we're just going to stir that around. And really, I'm not looking for this to really cook a lot. I'm just looking to wilt it down a little bit. I love wilted greens because I like that little crunch of the white in there, and then the wilted green part around it. And I found that's really refreshing on the palate, and it's going to be really lightening. But, you know, the age of, I talk a lot about Southern food and where Southern food is heading. Southern food is not always wedged between two Krispy Kreme donuts. Southern food is about, you know, a reverence for the locality and the beauty of Southern ingredients and the amazing agrarian landscape from which we come. And in America, we have amazing agrarian landscapes everywhere. We just, in the South, we happen to have this history of food that's so rich. But Northerners judge us by a very thin sliver of fried chicken and chitlins and things like that. But, you know, it's like, I was trying to explain to people that my vision of a fried chicken dinner at my house is fried chicken and then a avocado and tomato salad and Hoppin' John and lightly cooked greens and beautiful biscuits and shaved corn. And all of that makes up our meal. So in the end, that thing, but the Northerners view of a fried chicken dinner is a bucket of fried chicken and salty biscuits. I'm from Canada, we're above the Northerners. But this whole idea is key, is that the unhealthy protein on the plate is really only about 25% of that plate. The rest of it's surrounded by this bounty of beautiful things that are good for you. And that's where we talk about everything in moderation. And it has to be in truthful moderation. So that's my redefinition, that's my stand. Okay, we are about to slice these, and they're ready to go. And I'm just gonna, you wanna slice against the grain. So it's really easy to see the grain on something like a tenderloin. It's running straight through against it. And we're just going to slice this. And we've got that beautiful, just slight pink in the center that we're looking for. You know, in some parts of North Dakota, you might want to cook a little bit more. And then we're going to put it on the platter. And then we're going to garnish with all of our avocado and our bok choy and everything, and just get that out there. Okay, so that's like that. And I think the protein size really is getting smaller in American food, and I think that's key. It gives us all the opportunity to really hype what we love about food, which is all these amazing array of beautiful vegetables that we have, and sort of recalibrate the American budget when they're going to the store of saying, you should really invest in better vegetables and fruits and things like that. And get a smaller amount of that. They're still going to spend the same amount, or they're going to buy quinoa when they used to buy inexpensive potatoes and just that. So there's that diversification in diet, which is really key that I'm seeing. Okay, so let's get our spicy tomatoes and avocado on the plate, and I'm going to garnish with even more avocado on top. And you know, you smell those flavors, and everything's going around, and really it's like those cooked down onions and all the herbs are really what we're after on this. And then I'm just going to nestle all these greens, and you know, in cooking, you know, it's not only getting my kids attuned to the idea of cooking at a young age and understanding food, it's having them really active in the kitchen, and I think that's important as well right now. at the point that we're at in sort of the food maturity of our country. But my kids will, you hear clanging and banging in the kitchen early in the morning, and it's not me, I'm asleep. But it's them, and Clementine's making sunny side up eggs. She's 7, so she's got, and they're, we stopped being fearful of them cutting off their fingers and burning themselves. I'm like, well, I mean, I fear for myself every day with that, and why do I fear for them so much? I mean, they're dexterity-driven children, so kind of letting them go on that, which is great. Okay, so I've got another avocado, and I'm going to peel back that edge and leave all that dark green right there. Look at that, it's so pretty. Okay, and then I'm just going to slice these thinly and drape them over the top, and I'm going to just season them just a little bit. And that's going to give that beautiful richness to things. Okay. I'm going to season just a little touch over the top. And then you could take a really nice olive oil or something like that and finish it like that. But really, it's pretty straightforward. What's that color on there? So,
beautiful.
So, to me, I mean, that was totally from raw in what? 15 minutes? So the key is to get people interested in doing this and showing them that this is a great way to consume half an hour of their time. To pull them away from TV, not Wednesday nights at 10, but another time. To get them to show them that food is so inherent in their lifestyle, and where there's so many good things about food, and there's so many easy things to work with, like avocados, that they should play a really important role. Like, cooking shouldn't just be this thing that we save up for and think about doing on Sunday nights. It needs to be in the regular cadence of our lives. Because the more it is, the more apt we're going to get America not to eat the Pop-Tart for breakfast in the morning and get them to eat something really substantial and important. And they'll be more alert, and we become a better country, and we employ more people and all these things. It's weird. It's all totally connected. Okay, anybody got any questions?
How's your book?
How's my book? It's good. Something like that. Working on another. Never ends. So yeah. No, it's been fun. It's been fun. I've been traveling nonstop. So, but we enjoy doing it. It's fun to do. And the season wrapped up last night on TV, so it was good.
Tell everybody about your restaurants.
I have 3 restaurants. 2 of them are very focused on modern Southern food. One is called Empire State South in Atlanta, and then I have 2 in Athens, Georgia, where I live, called 5 and 10 and the National. So that's where my base is in Athens, and I'm a kind of lax communitarian. I'm not there enough, but a big member of my community and trying to make impact within our community. And we're just big idea people that if you don't care within your community and your neighbor doesn't care, then nobody's going to care. So might as well get involved and figure things out and do it for the better good. So it's good. It's been fun.
Jeff, you want to tell us the difference between competing and judging on TV?
I'm naturally judgy, so it's a lot easier. Competing was stressful. I mean, it's running around like mad trying to figure things out. And but I mean, both are great. I think it's a fun franchise to work with. But yes, judging's a lot easier. So it's good. Yeah.
Do you know if they're going to have the next one in Boston yet? Do you have any pull on that?
I don't have any pull on that. I am like the 3rd string, quarterback. I know that is a possibility. Nothing's been finalized yet. So yeah, it should be fun if it was. We'd love to be there. Anything else? You're talking about my eyebrow? Whatever. You can have the angle.
Can you share with them how California avocados are going to be using, promoting the American holidays and how they might be able to use those recipes during those periods?
I mean, I think that avocados and baking again around Thanksgiving time are going to be great to fulfill, take a healthier approach to baking overall. But to me, I'm going to do like that quinoa thing, but more with cut up butternut squash and cubed avocado folded into quinoa, or barley with avocado and shaved country ham, just really thinly sliced, chopped up, all in that. So there's a number of different ways that you can really highlight avocados in just about any meal. And then Christmas time, it's like we do the next day, we always do standing rib roast at Christmas. And then the next day we'll do sort of a taco night with taco night and a beautiful guacamole and a little avocado salad and winter citrus and things like that. So there's a ton of things upcoming on the calendar where all these things are focused in on and fun to do. You know, Memorial Day weekend and July 4th and things like that are a great time to really focus in on avocados and show off what they can do. So.
Do you know if it's ever been considered to do a like vegan cooking challenge, like one of those kind of shows? Because everything is just sort of general cooking shows.
Yeah.
And I mean, when we're trying to get people to eat more fruits and veggies,
Right.
you know, people think vegan.
I think that we're at a critical time in America when it comes to food, and I think that a lot of vegan stuff is coming into the mainstream more and more. I think that, you know, when you look at top-selling cookbooks, the number of diabetes-based cookbooks are really up there and bestsellers right now. And that's because of an honesty about what we're dealing with in health issues that are aligned with food in the United States. And so I think that, yeah, I think it's very close to being a mainstream topic that will come into, yeah,
Someday.
shoes and, or the shows and things like that. Shoes, not leather ones.
Or even vegetarian, you know, like vegan is maybe a little bit extreme
Right,
for the
right.
average.
I mean, yeah, we
you know?
go through the vegan challenge every night at the restaurant. So, table 2, say 2 is a vegan, what can you do? Yes.
How do you ripen your avocados to control and to have enough for cooking?
Go to one grocery store that's got the most fanatical avocado guy ever. He's got them arranged where the bottom ones are ripe. There's 2 lines of ripeness, and he's always there organizing them. I have never seen somebody so adept at this, but it's pretty amazing. So usually I buy them for pretty much immediate consumption. I'm a big idea. Growing up in Montreal and Ottawa, we kind of shop every day because it's on our route home. So I kind of tie in that type of sensibility. So I don't go a massive grocery shop. So I usually buy them ready and trust that the grocer's got some that are really going to be in ideal shape. If not, I have a big fruit array stand, or you can do it with the paper bag method and things like that. So either one. I mean, I rarely do I buy them when they're rock solid. I wait a little while. Buy them at the grocer and trust a good grocer.
Let me help a little bit on that. With avocados, if you buy them and they're not ripe, you put them in a brown bag with an apple or a banana. Avocados and bananas naturally give off afterward gas. So by putting them in the bag, closing the bag, putting them in a dark place so it's warm, that gas that the 2 pieces of fruit are putting off will help to ripen it. Avocados do not ripen until they're picked, so that's why sometimes you see them in the store and they're a little bit hard. So they mature on the tree, but they ripen after they're cut. So use that bag method to give you a good shape. And when you pick them, try not to just look at the color of the skin, because oftentimes they have blackening. That's not necessarily an indication that they're ripe. What you want to do is just put it barely in the palm of your hand and you just barely touch it to see if it gives, because that's what you're looking for. You don't want mushy. You just want it to give a little bit, and that's usually a pretty good avocado soup crunch.
What do you
Last
do with
question
oh,
here.
sorry. What do you do with overripe avocados? Can you use them in the baking recipes?
They're going to be, no, probably not ideal, but what would you do with overripe
You
avocados?
can make a guacamole that's not as chunky. You can freeze
Yeah.
it. You can put it in smoothies. We have some great smoothie recipes on our
Yeah.
website. A lot of people use them to make their own salad dressing.
Yeah.
So there's some great recipes. But for the most part, you should be able to use every part of the avocado, even if it's just soft.
And then I grew up doing the whole toothpick thing and the thing of water and trying to grow your own avocado tree in Canada. So it worked for a little